guys, Will's Garage here, and this is a review of the F10 M5. Alright, hey guys, Will's Garage here. So if you guys been following me, you know that I purchased this car about 2 years ago. So I figured I'd give you guys an update and my overall thoughts on owning this car. So I'm just going to get to it. Starting off with the engine. So this car has a 4.4 liter V8 twin turbo. It is an absolute beast of an engine. It puts out 560 horsepower. 500 pound-feet of torque. And just to note, the model I have is a 2013 non-competition pack. The competition pack has slightly more horsepower. The code name for this engine is S63TU. It is extremely smooth when you're driving around town. You're just driving normally. The RPMs normally hover around 1 to 1.5 thousand. So it's very quiet, very smooth. But as soon as you get on it, it just turns into a complete beast. There's power and torque basically throughout the entire power band, starting around like 2,000 to 3,000 RPM. When you get on it, it just pulls so hard. It pulls all the way up to red line. And because it's twin turbo, you know, you think maybe there'd be some lag, but there is pretty much no turbo lag. I mean, you do feel a little bit, but I feel like BMW did a really good job of tuning it to make it feel really responsive as soon as you get on the throttle. And it's quite apparent that BMW thinks this engine design was very good, because when they came out with the F90 M5, they basically took this same platform and modified, upgraded it a little bit, and that's what you get in the new F90 M5. So I think that says quite a lot about this engine. In terms of reliability, it's fairly DIY-able. Of course, you have your regular maintenance items like air filters, oil changes, spark plugs. The spark plugs actually are not too difficult to do. I did post a video about that if you guys want to check it out. Other things that I have not gone up to yet because my car is around 38,000 miles now, but from what I've seen, another common maintenance item is to replace the coolant lines that go to the turbos. So that also looks pretty simple and not too difficult to do at all, so I'm not concerned about it. Another item that's commonly talked about in this car is oil consumption. So you guys have seen my previous videos, you know I got a rebuilt motor, so I'll talk more about that later on. But prior to getting a rebuilt motor, I did have quite a lot of oil consumption on the original motor, and at the time I was running 0W40, and the engine would burn approximately a quart for every 1.5 to 2,000 miles. And of course, I noticed that it really varied depending on driving style. If I drove a lot more on the highway, it would burn less oil versus driving in the city. But ever since I got my rebuilt motor, the car has burnt absolutely zero oil. I'm not sure it's because of the oil weight or the fact that I have a rebuilt motor, or maybe it's a combination of two, but now I am running 5W50. So when I did a little bit of reading on the oil consumption issue, I found that it really varies across the board. And what it seems to really come down to is how the original owner treated the engine break-in period. It sounds like if it was broken properly, there would be less oil consumption later on in the engine's life. But yeah, moving on to other reliability issues with the engine. in terms of like catastrophic type of damage to the engine. You have an early 2013 model. Those engines were known to have oil pump issues, where the oil pump would just give out, the car would go into oil starvation mode, and basically the engine would just seize. But overall, the 2013 and pre-LCI models kind of have a bad rep. My car particularly is a 2013, and unfortunately I did have a blown engine. If you want to hear more details about it, you can check my previous videos on it. But anyways, when I posted that video, I was really surprised to see all the comments that I received, because it sounds like a lot of other people had similar situations where they had a blown engine like I did. And it wasn't just from pre-LCI models, it was all like from models all across the board, LCI or pre-LCI. So I do really want to note that don't let these engine failure stories scare you away from purchasing this car. As you know, with how things go online on the internet, whenever someone has a bad experience or has an engine failure, they report it to the whole entire world immediately, including myself. I kind of added to that. But and this is coming for someone who had a failed engine themselves. I feel like for every failed engine that you hear about, there's like probably 10 or 20 others that had no issues with the car at all. So if you find a car that was well taken care of, I wouldn't let the engine failure stories scare you away from getting an F10 M5. So in terms of price, this car you can get in the used market now for approximately $30,000 to $40,000 or maybe $50,000 for a really good example. And I mean, depreciation is a beautiful thing, because this car, when it was brand new, was around $100,000, maybe up to $120,000, depending on the options that were placed in the car. So I honestly think this car is one heck of a performance bargain. Even if your engine blows, you get a rebuilt motor, the total cost would probably be around $13,000 to $14,000. After factoring that in, I still think this car is a great performance bargain. I mean, there aren't very many cars out there where you could pick up that has 560 horsepower stock, and it's a full-size sedan where you can just drive it to the track, have a blast on the track, drive it home comfortably, pick up your kids, pick up groceries, pretty much do everything with the car, for this price range. So the car comes with either a DCT transmission or a 6-speed. My particular model has a DCT transmission, and it's known to be very reliable. It shifts extremely quick. This F10 model has 3 settings, from least aggressive to most aggressive. When driving around the street, I normally just set it into the least aggressive setting, so it shifts very slow and smoothly. But on spirited drives, I set it all the way up to 3, and it's just extremely responsive, and I love it. No qualms with that at all. And in terms of the comfort and features, this car's ride quality is spectacular. I particularly love this car on the highway. It just feels that the faster you go, the smoother it gets, and it really masks the speed that you're going, because when you're going 80 miles per hour, it seriously feels so smooth that it feels like you're driving maybe like 50 or 60 miles per hour, to be honest with you. The seats are extremely comfortable. They're heated and cooled. The rear seats are heated as well. And the rear seat has a rear center console that allows the passengers to control their own climate control, which is very nice. And yeah, you know what? I think probably one of the favorite features of this car for me are the seats. The leather is just extremely soft. It's very plush. If I could just take the seat out and turn it into an office chair, I would. It also has a massaging function, which I rarely ever use, but I did use on long road trips, which was very nice. And coming back to the highway driving of this car, it's I think it all comes back to the DNA of this car. I feel like it was probably really made for the Autobahn. As you know, in Germany, the Autobahn, there is no speed limit at all, and you could just drive it as fast as you want. And I think this is what this car was made for, driving real fast and connecting people from one city to another at very high speeds, very comfortably. And that's just what really stood out to me when I first picked up this car in Texas, and I drove it home back to Northern California over a course of 2 days. So I spent the whole 2 days in the car, and I wasn't really tired at all driving home because the ride is just so compliant. I think BMW just did such a good job with the valving of this suspension. I just love it. So other comfort features of the interior is the Alcantara headliner. The pillars are also covered with Alcantara, as well as the sun visors. So it's a really nice touch on the inside of the car. It really gives you this nice executive type of feeling when you're sitting in the car. And it's a definitely comfortable place to be. Let's see, what else here? You got the heads-up display, which by default shows the speed that you're traveling at, as well as the speed limit of the road that you're on. But when you hit the M button, a really cool gauge comes up that shows your RPM levels. So when you're driving spiritedly, you don't have to look down at your gauge cluster. You can just keep your eyes on the road. And I think that's just such a cool factor, because it literally just kind of feels like you're playing a video game with the heads-up display. And also for the heads-up display, if you code in some additional features, you can also display the signal lights as well as the radio stations when you're selecting them. So that's a pretty cool function. And my absolute favorite comfort feature of this car are the soft closed doors. So basically, if you just let the car latch lightly like this, it just closes on its own. And honestly, I didn't really think much of it when I first got the car, but over the course of owning it, that's something that I just completely, absolutely love. Because you don't ever have to worry about slamming the doors anymore. When my kid is sleeping in the back, I can just gently, let the door latch and close on its own. So it's a really, really, really nice feature. And my particular model comes with the Bang & Olufsen sound system. I'm not the biggest sound type of guy, so I can't really tell the difference. It does sound very nice, and it looks pretty cool with the speaker on top of the center dash. So yeah, the overall interior is very, very nice, fit and finish. It's a very comfortable place to be. The controls are all very nicely laid out. One thing I did notice are the buttons are very soft to the touch, like when you push them. When I'm comparing it to my E92 M3. For my M3, when I click the buttons, it feels kind of cheap, where it's kind of clicky, versus on this F10 M5, when I push it, it's very soft, and you could just tell the button quality is much higher, if that makes any sense. Overall, my thoughts on the interior, I like it a lot. It's very nice. It's a very comfortable place to be. The only gripe I have on the interior, if I'm really picky, is the dashboard. It's made out of this like plastic, and it looks really clunky and bulky. I know there was an option when the car was new to spec it out with a leather stitched dashboard, which looks so much better. But in my opinion, this car is a six-figure car, and six figures back in 2013. But yeah, once again, that's just me being extra picky about the car if I have to say anything negative about the interior. All right. right, so moving on to handling. So even though this is an M car, it is a full-size sedan. You know, it's a 5 Series size car, and it weighs about 4,300 pounds, and for its size, it handles very well in my opinion, especially when you turn on M mode, or when you turn the suspension setting up to Sport or Sport Plus. There's a very clear and distinguished difference between Comfort mode and Sport Plus. You can feel the difference a lot. And I think BMW did an amazing job with the suspension tuning and the valving for this model of the M5. Yeah, that's pretty much for handling. I don't really have much to say about the handling. I do plan on taking the track in the near future to test it out, so I'm probably going to have some more inputs and insights to you guys on what I think about the handling, so stay tuned for that. So moving on in terms of looks. So looks is very subjective. It's just in my opinion. I think, you know, the F10 M5 is a very, very good looking car. In my opinion, it's the second best looking M5, second to the legendary E39 M5. I think the lines on this car and the proportions are very, very nice. I really like the front profile and the side profile of the car. The rear looks okay to me, and on if you look from the corner angles, the car just also looks amazing in my opinion. I love the style of the non-competition pack wheels. Just a huge fan of them. They are 20-inch wheels and they just look incredible to me. But once again, you know, looks subjective. Let me know what you guys think about the looks of the F10 M5 in the comment section. Curious to know. One thing I never mentioned is how many power outlets there are in this car. There is one in the front center console, one under the passenger footwell. There's one in the rear center console, one in the trunk, and there's also a USB port in the glove compartment here. So there's a lot of creature comforts for this car. I think it's really well thought out car, and I just absolutely love it. So if you guys are out in the market looking for F10 M5, I think you should definitely check it out. I'm sure if you test drive one, you guys are gonna absolutely fall in love with it. Man, I feel like I'm missing other things to mention about this car, but yeah, that's pretty much my thought and review on this car. I'm pretty sure there are some things that I missed. If I did, I'll probably mention in some future videos, or if you guys are interested in hearing what my opinion is on, you know, other topics, feel free to leave a comment. Anyways, I'm planning to take this car to the track in the near future to test it out, to see how it handles, and really just kind of push the car to its limit. So yeah, stay tuned for that. If you're interested in seeing it, make sure you hit the subscribe button, ring the bell icon, give me a like on this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.